Good afternoon. Welcome to Government 2305. My name is Professor Baker. So I will be your online instructor for this course throughout the remainder of the semester. Couple of things just so that we're all on sort of the same page. You should be working on this class while you're sitting in your high school course over at Lamar. I am at Fulshire High School, so I'm a high school teacher in the district as well. Lone Star has asked, however, that when you need to contact me, please use Lone Star's email address information, right? So my email address is philip.baker@lonestar.edu. And then whenever you have questions, just email me. I'll reply as quickly as I can. Usually it takes me a little less than 20. Well, sometimes it takes me 20 minutes, honestly. I do have them set up to go to my phone, so the reality is even when I'm not at school, I'm predominantly working in large part because a lot of what I do with this class is done outside of sort of the high school day, because obviously I'm teaching my own classes here at Fulshire. So first, welcome to Government 2305. This is a course over government and political science. So it's government and politics at the federal level. So we're looking at the U.S. federal government. We will not spend much time at all dealing with the state of Texas or any other states for that matter. The course itself is a fairly broad overview of what you get. And so I'm always a little weary of online education. I think that all of us do better being taught by somebody face to face, being able to have interaction, discourse, actual discussion. The reality is politics, the definition of politics, which is a substantial portion of this course, is the disagreement or the debate amongst the behaviors that government should take. Unfortunately, when you have an online class, and this does classify, this is classified by Lone Star as an online course, some of that discourse can be lost. So I would ask that you pay fairly good attention to the discussions. I really hope that the discussions actually further the discourse, right? Actually provide some manner of debate and disagreement and therefore possibly the changing of opinions or whatnot. That would be the idea. Just so that we clear up some structural things, and that's really all I'm gonna do. I just wanted to introduce myself and then do some structural stuff, and that's it. So we'll clear up the structural stuff first, and then I'll sort of introduce myself and give you a little bit of background about me. Structurally, most of this class, the majority of this class is actually designed to where you should be able to accomplish most of it during your class period at Lamar in the room. Shouldn't have to have a substantial amount of homework. And provided that you utilize your time in the room well. If you're not, you're probably going to end up having to do some of it at home. Everything, with the exception of the tests, can be done at home. So those 6 tests have to be done in the classroom there with the LSP, with your teacher, your high school teacher, who is there to aid you and help you. And luckily for y'all, my understanding is that he teaches AP government there on the campus. So I'm sure he has a good foundation of government, good understanding of government, and would be a great resource for you to utilize in the event that you're confused about something that I'm teaching. Okay. So y'all will go to D2L every single day. That's where you should go when you get to class. You should pull out a computer, log into D2L. And in D2L, you will find discussions, readings. I've got to go back and make sure because I uploaded things. Lone Star messed with stuff this year for us, and it's thrown me off. Usually this video is done well in advance, but here we find ourselves. You should have basically a link to my lectures, which are recorded and put into YouTube. And then so usually they're just uploaded directly into D2L. The PowerPoint that would accompany that lecture, then all of your assignments, which are basically 18 quizzes over the sort of 18 topics that I lecture over, and then a couple of short writings, predominantly discussions. You'll have one essay. Don't worry too much about that yet. That essay is really just an opinion, right? So most of this class is opinion. Like I said a minute ago, politics is the disagreement, the debate, the discourse over what government should do. That means that you're allowed to ask government to do whatever it is that you want them to do, and your neighbor sitting next to you in that room, they can ask government for different things, and that's fine, right? So a lot of this really is opinion-based. Your assignments, Lone Star has actually dictated this. Your assignments are due by the week at 4 p.m. on that Friday, or in the event that Friday is a holiday, it would be Thursday. You will have tests. Those tests will only will be on Fridays unless that Friday is a half day, and then I've moved it to the following Monday in order to ensure you have a full class period to get that done, because as I said, you have to do that in front of your teacher. Okay, so that's the big things structurally. Just a little about me. So I've been in Texas. I've been here in Texas now for 13 years. I've spent all 13 years in Lamar CISD. So I've worked for this district for the entire time that I've lived here in Texas. I worked at George Ranch for 9 years. No, wait, maybe I've only been here for 12 years. I don't know. This is year 3 at Fulshear, and I think it was George Ranch for 9. So maybe I've been here for 12 years. But I have been also with Lone Star since we created our partnership with Lone Star, which was probably, I think, 7 years ago now. I think I'm coming up on my 7th year of working with Lone Star. And so I teach at Fulshear. I teach dual credit government. I used to teach dual credit U.S. history, but I've given it up and moved that over to somebody else so I can focus on government. And then obviously I am an adjunct professor for government as well, which simply means that I teach online courses for Lone Star College on my own time. This semester I only have the 2 online classes, and that's you guys over at Lamar. It just depends on the semester. In the spring, I'm probably more likely to have actual adult students as a result. So again, I'm Professor Baker. Philip with 1L.Baker at lonestar.edu is my email address. If you want to, if you don't like email, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of written communication. I find that written communication can very easily be misconstrued. If you would rather meet sort of virtually face-to-face, right? Oxymoron there. But if you'd rather be able to have like an actual conversation, just let me know. We can schedule a meeting. And so it would either have to happen sort of before school, after school, or if somehow I could work it out on my conference period that you were also available, we could do that. But I got no problem meeting with you or having a virtual meeting with you after school in our own time. In fact, let me clarify this point, because I do also want you to understand. I told you again, this is politics, which means it's almost entirely opinion based. There are no wrong opinions. There are not very many wrong opinions, right? If you tell me communism is a good form of government, you are wrong. That is an opinion, but your opinion is wrong, and it's backed up by ample evidence, right? Communism has failed everywhere it's been tried. So no. But for the most part, this class is very opinionated. It's very nuanced, and there's not a lot of right answers, right? You're welcome to feel however you want about whether or not healthcare is a right, when life begins, how taxation should occur, what the scope of government is, any one of a number of issues. But I will tell you this is my philosophy as an educator, right? The only way you know that your ideas are any good at all is if your ideas can withstand scrutiny. And that means that your ideas can withstand debate and critical thought and critical analysis. So I do want you to understand, this is one of the reasons why I make this point with the written communication is sometimes misconstrued. When you turn stuff into me, I will frequently put comments on there that basically tear down your argument. Not because your argument is bad, right? But because obviously to every opinion, there is a counter opinion that would be opposite of it. And so I want to at least expose you to that opposite opinion. Doesn't mean that it's my opinion, right? You and I might actually agree, but I'm still going to sort of argue against you in order to make you think, or hopefully to make you think about that alternative opinion or that alternative idea that you might encounter in some sort of civilized debate. So do understand that I'm not trying to be slick. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to, have a got you moment, right? Or belittle you or tear you down when you write your essay, and you tell me in your essay that I don't know. Well, we'll use the sample paper, right? Reynolds versus the United States was decided incorrectly because polygamy is a part of the free exercise of religion, right? When I tell you that religion can be, and morality within religion can still be subjected to law, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that that I disagree with you or that I'm not taking into account your opinion or your thought. I'm simply trying to make you think deeper about a topic or an issue. So I want you to understand that, right? Because I've had students in the past and I don't generally care. I really don't. I know you probably don't believe me because I'm telling you this. I don't really care about, like my rating on Rate My Professor. I actually don't. I do care. I don't ever want a student to leave my room thinking that I was rude or disrespectful or trying to belittle them in any way. That is not ever the intent, right? But I am a big believer in you challenge arguments, you debate arguments, you critique arguments, but you don't have to do that to the person, right? And so at no point in time would I ever make a personal attack. That's not ever the goal, right? Again, if you tell me that healthcare is a right, I will explain to you why healthcare is a commodity and should be traded on an open market. If you tell me that healthcare is a commodity, it should be bought and sold, I will explain to you why, according to the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, it's actually a human right and ought to be provided by the government free of charge. Okay? Again, not because one of those opinions is more right than the other, but because both of them are very valid opinions. All right. So let's understand that. Okay. So and even face to face, I can tend to come off as abrasive from time to time. I don't mean to be. Not that you would notice just from me sitting here and talking to you, but I'm a pretty big guy. You can sort of tell there. But I'm also 6'2". I have a very deep voice. I'm very loud. I don't mean to be loud. I'm not intentionally loud. But I was in the military. I was in the Marine Corps many, many, many years ago, back when I was young and didn't have all this gray and I was fit and whatnot. But so I obviously at that point, I was in from 01 to 05. Shouting over gunfire was not that difficult for me. And so I am loud. I don't mean to be. I'm not trying to be abrasive again. But I just want to make sure that that's out there. I genuinely am a very approachable person. I'm a very informal person. Honestly, you could just email me and be like, hey, dude, I don't understand this, right? And I will try to explain it to you again, or I will try to provide you with additional resources to point you in the right direction to be able to get you to understand what it is that you need to understand. I'm not going to sit here and get mad at you and be like, you need to call me sir, professor, whatever. I don't care. I generally don't. So to just finish up a little bit about me, obviously I've already said that I'm relatively informal. This is I think it's my 7th year. The older and older I get, the more and more I struggle to count, apparently. I think it's my 7th year working with Lone Star. I don't care about that little syllabus quiz. I think the syllabus quiz says the right answer is 3. Because I wrote that many years ago, and the only reason I did that is because at one point I was requiring the lockdown browser on all of the tests, And so the syllabus quiz, which is not a grade, it doesn't go in the grade book. You can get a 0 on it. You cannot do it. It doesn't matter in the slightest. But I put it on there and put the lockdown browser on that so that students had to do the lockdown browser in order to be able to take the tests, right? And so that way, when a test opened, if my online students, and this was not for dual credit online, right? But if my online students missed that window and then they came back to me like, well, I couldn't get the lockdown browser to work, I would tell them, well, you were told to do it, weeks earlier. You were given an opportunity to practice with it weeks earlier. That's on you. I will be honest, I don't take late work as a rule in my college courses because I just don't have the time between my face-to-face classes. I head up the dual credit department here at Fulshear. I also head up the social studies department here at Fulshear. I have 3 children ranging from ages 4 to 9 that are in a wide variety of extracurriculars. I've coached Little League and softball and all sorts of stuff for my own children after I got out of coaching at the high school level. I am a very, very busy person, right? Honestly, more busy than I would like to be. And so I don't have the time really to go in and continue to reopen assignments for students. And so I just lock everything, and when it's done, it's done. So understand that. But I do also recognize that life happens, right? Maybe you have a part-time job and your boss keeps you late after work one day and you can't get something done, right? You get the flu and you're out Friday, and so you didn't submit the work that you needed to submit on Friday. That's fine. There are drops built into the grade book so that in the event that you missed something, it doesn't kill you. So I do want you to understand that there are some protections, since I don't take late work, to help make sure that as life happens, you don't get sort of hammered or killed by missing one assignment or 2 assignments. Honestly, there's enough assignments that even missing one in addition to the ones that would get dropped eventually isn't going to be the end of the world. The reality is, when it comes to your college grade, if you are somehow perfect in this class, which obviously nobody is, you won't be perfect, right? You're not going to have 100. But if you did have 100, or if you had an 89.5, you got the exact same grade. It's still an A, right? I don't do pluses or minuses. 89.5 to 100 is an A. 79.5 to 89.4 is a B. I'll be honest with you, sometimes 79.2 could end up being a B. Sometimes 89.2 ends up being an A sometimes. I do round. Obviously, if I've got like 3 89.5s and I round those up and I have one 89.4, it's probably not, if I'm going to give the 89, you get my point, right? So just understand the grading. Also understand this: the grade that you have in D2L is not also your final grade. So again, because D2L does not round. I think you can see the colors. I see the colors, right? So like an A is blue and a B is green and a C is yellow and a D is orange and a F is red, right? It will list at 89.999 as a B in green. So don't worry about what D2L says. D2L is not official. It's simply how we're going to keep up to date on things. All right. Let's see what else. How long I've been teaching. I went to UNC for my undergrad. I went to San Diego National University, got my master's. Went back to Sam Houston, and that's how I'm teaching these dual credit classes. Tend to be long-winded. If you actually go watch any of my lecture videos, my PowerPoints are actually created for me, not for the students, because I forget where I'm at and get sidetracked. As I said, I've got way too many things going on in life, between a wife and 3 children and 2 jobs and a house and everything else in life. So I'm sure there's something that I've forgotten here. just pay attention to D2L. I've already put one announcement out. This will go in as an announcement. You'll probably get at least a half dozen more as we go on, as things change, as evolution occurs, and you've got things that you got to do and can't do, and yada yada yada, right? I mean, it seems like every year there's some sort of God-related event, hurricane, flood, whatever, freeze, that obviously dictates me changing things as we move as well. So just, again, when you're in class, log in every day, pay attention, try to stay on top of it. Don't let things build till Friday if you want to be successful. And ask questions, either of me or of the teacher sitting in the room. As I said, excellent resource, well-versed in government. While they're not technically your professor, I'm sure he can explain a whole bunch of things to you, probably better than a YouTube video that I create or a Khan Academy video or something like that can, where you don't really have the opportunity to ask those specific questions that you would have. All right. So this has gone on long enough, right? I will sign off and wish you good luck and tell you one last time, welcome to Government 2305. I look forward to a good semester.